welcome to today's tarot chat. I'm so excited to share with you guys my experiences with my decks from last week, and then we're going to talk about what I want to work with for this upcoming week. So let's just recap. So the decks that I used last week, let's start with this one. So I had the Druidcraft Tarot. This is a favorite of mine, and I just haven't brought it out lately. I have to hold it back here because my window has weird lighting, but it's a beautiful, beautiful deck. Very pagan, and it's a Rider-Waite kind of clone, but it has a lot of deep meaning that I didn't know about because I played with the book. I actually only did one reading with this deck this week, but it was so powerful. That's all I really needed from it at the time. This book is something that I'm really going to want to play around with more. So I think this deck is going to carry on into this week just as kind of like a study thing, or to do like a one card pull so I can read more of the book. Just because this is pure magic. Like, it's so good. I recently picked up the Vampire Tarot by Ian Daniels because of that guidebook. I do really like the imagery as well, but that is something that I'm not really quite ready to dive deep into yet. A lot of the stuff that that book goes into is a little bit of a different thing than what I'm kind of looking for right now. I'm not super interested in like the Kabbalah and all that kind of stuff right now. This to me has like that perfect amount of it goes deep, but it's not too much where it's kind of going over my head. And I'm not saying, so the book Phantasmagoria by Ian Daniels, it doesn't necessarily go over my head. It's just I'm not quite there yet. But this is such a good book. Oh my gosh. It brought some associations to the cards that I wasn't quite aware of or that I'd never thought of before. And I felt like I really added some layers to my tarot knowledge. So I'm super excited about this book. Very, very excited. It's beautifully written. It just spoke to my soul. I loved it so much. And then the deck that I paired with Druidcraft was the Mists of Avalon Oracle. And these two together were pure magic. They went together so well. It was just beautiful. And the writing in the book, so this is by Rose and Sarah is the one who wrote the guidebook. And the guidebook for this and the Druidcraft were just very similar in the way that they spoke, like in the way that the words kind of spoke to me, and just the way it was written. It was quite beautiful together. It has this very healing energy. I don't know how to explain it. It's like this deep healing sort of energy to the pair. I mean, they both have that, but together it was just so beautiful. So this is kind of like, in my mind, just a pairing, a life pairing. Like, I just feel like I want to use these together from now on when I want an oracle paired with this tarot deck, because they speak to each other so beautifully, and I love this pairing. I think I am going to put this away for now, just because I really want to focus on the book for the Druidcraft. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I didn't even know. I set it down. It's the same image. Weird. Okay, so I love these two together. Like, they are so, so, so good together. I don't know. I feel like this is the pairing I'm going to want to pull out when I need a very healing kind of a message. So I found a beautiful pairing there. Okay, I got stuff everywhere. Let me organize this a bit. So yes, I feel like the pairings I picked out this week were just top notch. Okay, so the next little pairing I had, so I had the Antique Anatomy Tarot with the Halloween Oracle. So let's talk about the Antique Anatomy. I think this is the deck I used the most last week. I mean, this is the newest deck that I had at that point, and it's what I really wanted to get to know. And this deck is just beautiful. The energy it has for me is a very matter-of-fact kind of like tell you how it is. It's not super sweet. It can be. Like if it senses that you need that, it can have that kind of sweet energy. But that's not the initial kind of feeling that you get. And I just feel like I love pip decks for like a palette type of cleanser. So I was really loving Pagan Otherworlds for that. And then this as well. It's just very clear. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you can get deep and you can get these interesting messages, but the lack of illustrations on the card is it just adds, it just allows space to breathe, I guess. So this was beautiful. And then I mean the Halloween tarot or the Halloween oracle paired with it was just, I mean, it worked so well. And I love this deck. I mean, I think it's one of my favorite oracles. It's just so good. It's just such a good oracle. It reads so well every time. It's bang on every time. I got death cards a lot last week. It's just beautiful, and I was happy to bring it out before Halloween because I've just been feeling the autumn vibes, even though we're in the middle of summer. So yes. So this was beautiful. I'm going to put it away for now and probably bring it out closer to Halloween again. But I can tell this is going to be a new favorite for me when I just want something a little less loud and just chaotic, I guess. It's very like, has a clearing kind of energy. So I love this. I did work a lot with this deck with the astrological associations with the cards, which I used my astrology books, which I'll talk about in a minute. I don't want this video to be extremely long. Okay, last pairing that I picked. So I said I was going to be using my Crimson Hysteria, and I said I didn't have anything paired with it, but right away I kind of decided I wanted something to pair with this deck. Again, this deck had some very powerful readings for me last week. I used this one quite a bit. I think I used it as much as the Antique Anatomy. It's so beautiful. Again, it has this witchy energy, and that's why I kind of choose the decks I do to pair with it. I feel like this just pairs so well with my Seasons of the Witch decks. So the one that I paired with it last week was the Beltane. I love it with the Samhain because of the red, and it just goes so well with the witchiness of it. It's beautiful. And I think around Christmas time, this will be really pretty with the Yule because you'll have the green and the red. And so I'm just really excited. I just think this works with those decks so, so well. And I don't know how to explain the energy of this deck other than just like pure witchiness, pure magic, and just speaking to you as, it speaks to me as if I'm like this magical high priestess or something. I don't know. It just like, it gives you that energy. And I this is a favorite, if there ever was one. Like, this is going into my top favorite decks ever. This deck, so the Beltane, it has like this kind of bee theme throughout, and these golds, and it has like this honey energy and sweetness, and it also has a lot of fire. I mean, obviously, if it's Beltane, we have that fire. We have Sun God. It has a very like sexual energy as well. Just, oh my gosh, paired together, these two just worked so well. There's a lot of red in this deck too. I'm not getting to it, but yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fiery energy. it's just beautiful, and I'm so happy to have brought this deck out, because I felt like I just still want to get so much use out of this beautiful deck, and it does feel like that very hot kind of summery energy. While you can kind of use this all year round, I feel like this is kind of, at least for now, before they start releasing the other decks, this is kind of the warm half of the year for me, and the Samhain is more of the cooler half of the year. And I do like the Yule, but it feels a little bit more kind of contained to that season, more than these ones. These are a lot more expansive, this one and the Samhain. So I don't know why I'm showing you the whole entire deck, but I mean, the two of them together, it was just, again, pure magic together. So let's talk about what I want to work with this week. So last Thursday, I believe it was, I received this deck, the Intuitive Night Goddess. Now, I've been back and forth on this deck for so long. I knew Danny Mystic had this very deep connection with it, and she loves it. And, you know, Danny and I have similar tastes in our decks, at least in my opinion. I feel like she kind of has similar aesthetics to me. And so I was like, I just don't see it. It's kind of collagey, and I think that's what held me back from wanting it, is because it was collagey, and it just, I don't really love collage decks very much. Like, I've learned that they're not my favorite aesthetically speaking. And I think that kind of threw me off from it. And it just, there was something about it kind of reminded me, like through pictures when I was looking at it online, it kind of reminded me of the Wild Unknown, like with the black and white, with like the rainbow colors mixed in. And there's one card in particular that kind of reminded me of that. And that just like put me off the deck completely, because Wild Unknown, I don't understand why people like that deck. And so the other day I was watching a review by Lisa Pepez of this deck, and something, I mean, I just really looked at the images for the first time, and I was so taken by them that I ordered the deck immediately. I felt this instant kind of connection, and it just was a lot deeper than I thought, I guess. And I mean, from the minute that I got this, I feel so connected to this. This is I mean, it's just a beautiful deck, guys. I mean, I love the backs. They're these black. And so this is like the main deck I want to use this week. This is the main thing. I mean, this is like the main tarot deck I want to use. I have some others I want to show you, but this is what I'm using, because I had to refrain myself from using this last week and trying to focus on the decks that I picked out for myself. And I just want to fully devote the week to this deck. But it's just, look at that. There's the 10 of Cups. This is what kind of reminded me of Wild Unknown. But now looking at it in person, I mean, it doesn't remind me of that, because I just have this deeper kind of connection to this deck already. It's pure, I mean, it's goddess energy. There's no men in this deck. I love it. So the kings are replaced by the spirits, and they all have these glowing white eyes. Oh my gosh, I love it. And from what I understand, it's kind of like the ascension of the court cards is kind of like ascending yourself to your highest self type of a thing. And while it is collagey, the artwork is truly stunning, and I feel like it just has this beautiful dark goddess energy. Look at that death card. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read you guys the death card. I haven't read the meaning from the book, because this is another thing that just has sold me on this deck and has made me just want to work with this deck. Okay. So I'm going to read this. Death. Death is faceless, and it is okay that we never know what it looks like. How we return to the stars in all of our lives is a process that asks us to surrender and find peace. Death often signals a rebirth, an opportunity for a new beginning, and not a literal death. We go through many of these transformations. The dandelions in the background remind us how death becomes something new when we breathe wishes on those fuzzy flowers of life and send them back to the world, planting seeds for new growth. Death's face blends into the background, signifying our return to the cosmos. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was like going white. The in-between and the hidden. She is accompanied by a bony seed standing in river water to remind us where we come from and return to. The true essence of rebirth washes over us again and again. Embrace endings when they come so that you can create space to welcome the new. And then it has keywords: rebirth, endings, letting go, and transformation. And there's something about the kind of descriptions in the guidebook that bring you right into that card, because it explains what you're seeing. And I love decks that do that, but it does it in such a concise, beautiful way. And so my kind of goal for this week is to read this through completely and just get a feeling for all of the cards. And this deck is so beautiful, guys. I can feel it as a favorite, as like a divine, feminine, goddess-oriented, just like witchy favorite in my deck collection. I can't get enough. This is such a beautiful deck. And so I did pick a deck to pair with it in case that I wanted to do the pairings. Now, I don't know if I'll want to do pairings because I kind of want to focus on the tarot. But I have my Moon Witch Oracle cards, which are just beautiful with it. We have that black kind of theme. And together, they look really, really beautiful. I did kind of play around with them, and they do work really well together. Queen of Wands and Manifestation. The Universe with Lunar Eclipse. We have No with the Warrior of Pentacles. I love that. We have like that bull energy there. Yes. Six of Wands, Courage, Truth, and Shadow Work. We have Nine of Wands, Bloom even if no one is watching. So I think these together are really beautiful if I want an oracle message to kind of, go with this deck. But I don't know. I'm really in love with just the deck by itself. So that's the main kind of like pairing that I want to use. The only other decks I'm going to mention are not necessarily like, I don't know if I'm going to use them as main reading decks or what, but I need to get this baby out. This is a Santa Muerte. I have this weird energy with this deck of like, it's intimidating to me because it just feels very sacred and like I need to do it justice. I don't know. It's a beautiful deck. And it's one I've never really read for myself with because I've just been I've been intimidated by it, and not because of like it being hard to read or anything like that. It just has this very deep energy. So I'm going to push myself to read with this deck somewhat this week, because what I want to do, my plan for this deck is to do a deep dive on the channel with it and work through it together with you guys. I think it'll be really beautiful because there's some deep meanings in this deck that are different than the Rider-Waite, and it just adds again some layers. And this guidebook is really beautiful and concise again, and it's small, so I feel like it'll be easier to work through this as a deep dive than maybe like Druidcraft, with us having to read this whole thing. So I think I'm going to do that, but I need to read with it first to see my relationship with this deck, because I don't know how it reads for me. I just know that I'm so drawn to it and repelled by it at the same time, and I don't know what it is about it. So I'm pushing myself to work with this deck in some capacity this week. Maybe kind of do a very special type reading with it so I can get that energy so that we can move past this and do a deep dive. So that is another deck. And then the one that I picked to pair with it if I choose to is the embroidered Graveyard. I mean, you guys know how I feel about this deck. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, this is a beautiful, beautiful oracle deck. And it has this spirit energy. The guidebook literally has ghost communication in it with working with this deck. And I think together it just works really well with the Santa Muerte energy that that death, but also the other side, and being connected to the spirits on the other side and ancestors. And it's just, I think it'll work really well together with it. I mean, there's a lot of skeletons in this deck as well as Santa Muerte, so yeah. There's going to be some kind of a special type reading done with this deck this week so that I can get a feel for it. Yeah. So that is the other one. And the other decks, quickly, I just want to share with you is another new deck that I got last week when the Intuitive Night Goddess came in. So I received this. This is the Pamela Coleman Smith deck, and it's a beautiful deck. You guys know how I feel about RWS. I love Pamela's art, and it's my main use for, like, I use my RWS decks for reading for others, like kind of the original artwork. And this one is so beautiful, and like it's like a pale coloring of it. It's very soft and beautiful. And so this is going to be the deck that I use for client readings this week if you know, I have client readings, because it's just beautiful. So this is going to be my RWS of choice this week, just to see how it works, because I mean, I'm so bonded to my main one. You guys know this is my borderless, and this one's not. I do like the borders on this version. It's really pretty. So I'm gonna see how our relationship is, because I feel so bonded to that one, even though it's the same artwork. It's a different. I work with my decks very much like with energy. I feel I kind of personify them, yes. So I want to see how this one works for clients, and I want to pair it with the Sacred Destiny, because I think this is a really beautiful deck. And I feel like I just kind of put it on the back burner a lot, because it's one that I don't necessarily pull out to use for myself, because the keywords I feel like can be a little bit, they're not super expansive for me or like deep for me, but you can go super deep with these. It's not necessarily one I would pull out for myself, but I think paired with the coloring and that RWS I showed would be beautiful. And I think for clients, it's a really beautiful deck to use with these keywords. I think you can go off of a lot with these keywords for a client reading. And I think the artwork's really, really pretty. And I want to use this deck more. I have to kind of force myself to bring it out, because, you know, I have so many Oracle decks, and I think this one is going to be hopefully a new favorite for clients, because I kind of have like a main deck I use for Oracle readings with clients, and it's my Wisdom of the Avalon, which is just so beautiful. But I think this will pair really well with that deck as well as with RWS. So those are the decks this week. Again, just the main one I'm going to be focusing on is this beautiful baby right here. And I will update you guys at the end of the week. But I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week wherever you are. I've been trying to upload more. I feel way better, you could probably tell, than last week. I had like a lingering kind of stagnant energy last week, which I'm glad to be moving out of. I had 9 of Wands as my card of the month, and the tarot card proved right again, so we'll talk about that in my monthly favorites. I can't believe July is almost over. Like, it just blows my mind so much. So yes, those are the decks that I want to work with this week, and my experiences with the ones from last week. I hope you guys, again, are having a wonderful time. Let me know something in your life that's bringing magic into your life lately. I want to know. Yeah, so expect some videos from me. I think I want to film like a little flip through / talking about the Fantastic Menagerie, because I had a request for that. And I mean, I'm just so happy to have it in my collection. It's insane. I have some other videos planned that I want to film. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys next week for a tarot chat. And yeah, I love you guys so much. Bye.